Welcome to this special edition of Daily Pulse, where we keep your finger on the pulse of the latest breaking news and the news they're keeping from you. I'm your host, Maria Z. A breaking study has been published confirming vaccine mRNA, plasmid DNA, and spike protein can persist in humans more than 3.5 years after COVID-19 vaccination. But it gets worse. The findings suggest the injected population could be shedding onto the uninjected population years after their injection with absolutely no end in sight. This study documents the longest documented persistence of mRNA vaccine components to date, independently confirmed across multiple laboratories, biospecimens, and time points using diverse analytical methods. One of the authors of the study, epidemiologist Nicholas Hulscher, joins us to discuss this as well as explosive revelations about Bill. Nicholas Hulscher, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for all of your work. What we have to discuss today is extremely troubling, and I'm just very grateful that you and Dr. Peter McCullough and the McCullough Foundation have continued with this important work and research, because we need accountability and we need answers, and there's a lot that we need to dig into today, including Bill Gates and Epstein coordinating global pandemics. But first and foremost, let's start with the result of some of this coordination of these pandemics. We have a breaking study. Vaccine mRNA, plasmid DNA, and spike protein can persist in humans more than 3.5 years after COVID injections. Nick, talk us through this. This is shocking.
Yes, this is very shocking, and this is probably the strongest case report ever done on COVID-19 vaccine injury. And we have proven, without a reasonable doubt, that the mRNA injection components, including the literal mRNA, the plasmid DNA, and the resulting spike protein, can last in the human body for over 3.5 years. And that's just as far as we looked. And so this particular patient had over 200 diagnostic laboratory and imaging studies, 40 emergency room visits. He's had over 200 specialist consultations across 18 distinct specialty domains clinically. And he's had a multi-system post-vaccination syndrome. He received 3 Pfizer mRNA injections. Literally, his entire body began to collapse. He got myocarditis, MRI confirmed, pulmonary embolism, dermatological disturbances, neurological disturbances, psychiatric, hearing loss. All sorts of bodily systems began to fail. And so across multiple time points, multiple laboratories, spanning over 3 years after his injection, we found repeatedly vaccine spike protein in the skin, in his circulating exosomes. We found the spike protein was literally embedded in this region of Grover's disease in his skin. And then we had vaccine mRNA found in his exosomes over 3.5 years after the shot. So the mRNA is not degrading. There's still at least fragments of it. And then the plasmid DNA literally embedded in his skin, embedded in there in the Grover's disease lesions, all segments of it, the SV40, the ORIs, or the origin of replication insertion sequences, as well as the spike encoding sequences of the DNA. So all of these components were in there, confirmed multiple tests. And lastly, there was no possibility this was from the infection. He's had 5 antibody tests, 5 of them. All 5 were negative for the nucleocapsid, and the nucleocapsid was not found in his skin when we looked, only the spike protein. So yeah, we were lied to, and I expect lawsuits to begin to flood in.
Let me ask you, you're saying that it's also persistent in his exosomes. Does this mean that 3.5 years later, and in his skin, 3.5 years later, he's still shedding?
Yeah, it's entirely possible, because that is the mechanism we believe that shedding occurs, is through exhalation of exosomes. And so it is entirely possible he could still be shedding the spike protein or vaccine genetic material.
This infuriates me for a number of reasons. Obviously, we were told that this stays in the injection site, and this is why it's so important to continue with this work that you have been. We were told this stays in the injection site. People were mandated to get this. Many people lost much of their livelihood and, savings and families for refusing this. And yet 3.5 years later, we have an example of someone potentially still shedding. That is, so it infuriates me for the people that got the injections, but also those who refused and lost so much, Nick. I can't begin to explain how sinister this is. Okay, so let's go through some of this. As some of the I guess the technical aspects of this. The paper is titled Unprecedented Persistence of Vaccine mRNA, Plasmid DNA, Spike Protein, and Genomic Dysregulation over 3.5 years post-COVID-19 mRNA vaccination. You detailed there over 40 emergency department visits, so on and so forth. What does this mean here for the audience? The findings reveal longitudinal molecular evidence that vaccine-derived mRNA, plasmid DNA fragments, and spike protein can persist in human blood and tissue more than 3.5 years after vaccination. I mean, how do we extrapolate that from one case?
Yeah, this is one case, but the thing about this one case is he's literally had hundreds upon hundreds of tests, and this almost never occurs. No patient willingly goes through this number of tests except this particular patient, and we thank him for that because we were able to find out that this can happen, right? So yeah, it's one patient, but that means in some individuals who have received Pfizer or Moderna genetic gene transfer injections, that they still may have all three of the vaccine components inside of them, the spike, the mRNA, and the plasmid DNA. And, according to this case, we don't know if it will ever leave his body.
Wow. We actually don't know if this will ever leave his body, meaning we don't know as well the question of, will everybody that received these injections continue shedding forever?
Exactly. We don't know the answer to that question, but based on this extraordinarily comprehensive case, we suspect that it can definitely happen indefinitely in some individuals who receive these shots. We have no clue how many will be like this case, but nobody's looked. Nobody's done hundreds of tests on really anybody else.
Right.
Our CDC's not doing it. Our FDA's not doing it. They're just injecting 6-month-olds with this garbage.
Yeah.
And so at the McCullough Foundation, in collaboration with the Inmodia lab in Germany, Neo7 Bioscience, and a hospital in Germany, we decided to do this. And this is what we found. So we really are doing what the CDC should be doing among thousands of patients.
Here's another question for you. The case presentation says, obviously, this is a 55-year-old male, received 3 doses of Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 mRNA injection, subsequently developed progressive multi-organ dysfunction consistent with post-COVID vaccine syndrome, involving cardiopulmonary, neurologic, musculoskeletal, gastrointestinal, autonomic, and a whole bunch of other words there that I won't even attempt to pronounce, Nick. But my question is, people may see this and say, okay, well, I received those shots. I don't have all of those symptoms. Would I also be in the same boat as this individual? And the answer I presume, is that we don't know.
Yeah, the problem is we don't know. We really just don't know. Now, this is a clear-cut case of this post-vaccination syndrome where it affects all the organ systems. So he definitely got a potent batch. It would be, we could assume basically that, if you do have lots of multi-system dysfunction after you receive these shots, it's entirely possible you could still have these components within you. But even people with just one symptom, like they got myocarditis, heart damage, or they suffered, just dizziness or POTS or things like that, it's still also plausible that they may still have some of these components. We just don't know.
Wow. I want to take people through the specimen collection and analytical methods. You can see here that blood and skin tissue specimens were obtained at multiple time points between 852 and 1,364 days after the final Pfizer injection. Biological compartments analyzed include plasma, circulating exosomes, peripheral blood mononuclear cells, and skin tissue. And then you can see that specimens were evaluated across multiple independent laboratories using diverse analytical methodology. Help me with that word, Nick. Methodologies, thank you. Apologies, I'm reading so quickly. And including ELISA. And you can see here an extensive list of all of these tests and everything that was done for this individual. So as you said, really, we don't have anything like this. This is a first in the world example, and really should be what the CDC or the FDA are doing, considering the gravity of what happened with the COVID injections.
Yes, it's exactly. And you're right, you showed that list there. I mean, there are so many tests. I mean, it's crazy that nobody's bothered to do this. Especially, we had nonprofits with billions of dollars to spend. We have Gates Foundation. They don't do this. We have the World Health Organization. They don't do anything like this. All the health organizations and governmental organizations or agencies that should be doing this are just not bothering to do it. But here we go. We have done it. And it is important to really solidify at least one case before we move on to the large scale, detections of these. And so now that it's proven with this large battery of tests across multiple biospecimens, multiple methods, it's basically confirmed that, yeah, this can last in people for years. And so now, it's time to start looking at the population level, larger sample sizes. The CDC better do this, and big pharma, when they, and people who went on TV are public health leaders from, 2021, they would all continuously claim this is short-lived. The vaccine your body will eliminate it within a few days to a week. And there's still individuals that keep claiming that. And it's all false. It's now all verifiably proven false, fraudulent claims. And so, I would be afraid if I were still pushing this now, despite this evidence, for fear of legal action.
Absolutely. Another question for you. Does this give us any answers as to whether all mRNA products would be this way? Obviously, the COVID-19 spike protein mRNA product was one thing, but is this something particular where mRNA is concerned, where they could inject something into someone and have it constantly replicate forever, regardless of what they're being injected for, including, by the way, the mRNA injections they're giving to our pets now?
Yes, exactly. So this has implications for all mRNA technology, cancer mRNA shots, Nipah virus mRNA shots, bird flu mRNA shots. They're all going to do the same thing. They're going to last for years. Your body won't be able to clear them, and it can cause multi-system organ dysfunction and basically cause debilitating disability for a seemingly unlimited period of time. So all mRNA technology will face the same disastrous consequences.
A question for you on the persistent spike protein and plasmid DNA in the skin tissue. So you've included, the results from these types of tests from the study. Does this mean, Nick, and I hate to put it this way, but that hugging someone who got the injection even this many years later could result in shedding?
It's plausible. It's plausible. If the person you hug has all of these vaccine components still within them, still in their exosomes, it's entirely plausible that close bodily contact or exchanging bodily fluids, like so if it's your wife or girlfriend or husband, etc. It's possible these materials could still transfer, unfortunately.